Right, so this video is going to show you how to make an oval or a circular box, and you will need to tweak this slightly depending on whether you're making an oval one or a circular one. So what I just want to show you with the document that's already up is the sort of idea that you're going to have two parts, the lid and the base. One's going to be slightly bigger than the other, so it fit all over the other, and the fact that we only use black or red lines. The black lines symbolise the cut for the laser cutter, and the red lines symbolise the engrave or the scoring. So the first thing you need to do is you need to find a new document, and we want the width to be 900 and the height to be 600. The reason for that is the fact that you are going to be using the laser cutter for this, and that is the size of the base. If you make yours bigger than that, it's not going to fit on. So there we go, nice new page. So if you're going to make a circular box, then what you need to do is click the circle tool, click on it, and give the width and the height the same dimensions. So if our box is going to be 400 wide and 400 high, for example, that is what you thought. That is incredibly large and far too big. So I would hope that yours isn't that big. Let's go with 25 or 250 high and 250 wide. There we go, that's a much better size. Now that is a circular base, and you will have to follow the same instructions for your for creating sides and stuff if you get an oval, but I'm going to just for now put that to one side and show you how to create the oval. The oval box, we really want to have some flat sides, so if you know the dimensions of your oval, it would be an idea to draw a rectangle so that we can just see what area it fits in. So if we're going to have our width of our box as 300 and the height of our box as 225, for example, you should know these measurements yourself, and you will have that there. Now that would form your box. The basis of the base of your box. You would want to work out roughly where, or exactly where your curve is going to start. It might not necessarily be exactly half of a circle. So what we're going to do is I'm going to suggest that you say the width of yours is going to be 100. So if you can see that we're blocking this up into 3 zones, let's copy that and put that on the end as well. Now those 3 zones would be, these would be the 2 flat sides here and here between these 2 points, and then this bit would create the arc sort of following where my cursor is. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to zoom into it, and we're going to try and create this curve. So use the curve tool, and I always get this backwards, so we're going to go, yep, there we go, there's the backwards curve. Let's try from the bottom. Enjoy. Let's try from the middle. There we go, middle to the end. And I cannot work out why I never get this right. So that's the next bit. So middle, so where it says intersection, if it ever says intersection, there we go, intersection to the point, and intersection to the point. Now if we were to delete all 3 of those rectangles we drew originally, and this one, you should start seeing that you've got this oval coming together, and we're going to draw a line between the points to join it up. So either way, those are your starting points. You either want to be creating an oval, much the same as I did, or you're going to have a circle, like so. Now, what you need to know is you need to know that the laser cutter will not recognise any fill, so your whole document needs to be a no fill zone. If you look at these, These are indications of which bit's going to be cut and which bit's going to be scored on the laser. So black symbolises cut and red symbolises engraved. Excuse the fact that my phone is ringing, I am going to ignore it. Now, yours is not going to be quite the same as the one here, because you're going to have a strip that creates these signs. Now, if you are creating an oval, it is easier for you to create a box on the end of here where the intersection is, and you need the width. We know that the width is 100 because it was originally a width of 300 and we divided it equally into 3. 300 divided by 3 is 100. You then need to enter the height of your box. The height of your box is how high it's going to come up, for example, off of the table. So we are going to call this box 35 millimeters high. That really is annoying, I do apologise. And click OK. Now that we've got this here, we've got a rectangle on our box, and we should be able to delete that first line. This is slightly in the wrong place. There we go. We only want one back line. We don't want any lines sitting on top of the others. So now we need to create this part here. Now it is very, very difficult to do this because we need to know exactly how long this part is, and we also want to be able to create tabs to glue things together. So if you're doing a circular one, this is slightly easier because we know that our circle is 125 in diameter. Now, using pi, you should be able to work out the circumference of that, which is what you would need to do. So I would leave you to do the maths there. Now, this one is slightly different because of the fact that it is it's not an exact circle. So we will go with the idea that it is the same as this circle. If we put this circle over the top, it is roughly, by the time we get round, roughly the right size. Now, if you can do the maths and if you've used a circle on the end of yours, then that's going to make this a lot easier. Otherwise, we can always use a pair of scissors just to trim off the excess. So what you want to do is you want to do the maths, work out the length that you're going to go round, and for an oval you're only going to go halfway, and for the circle you're going to go right the way round. Could you draw a rectangle symbolising that exact measurement where you can? I'm just going to pause this and sort that out myself. Right, so the length of the length of this one, it needs to be 393 according to my maths, and then this one therefore will need to be double that, and it should be one long strip. Now what we're going to do is we are going to put a tab on the end of it so that it will join up to this part here. So let's get that bit done first. So let's zoom in. What I'm going to do with this is, just because I want this to be to stand out, I'm going to make it orange, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and I want it to be the same height, but I'm going to make it 15 wide. There we go. And I'm just going to pop that on the end there. Now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use black now, and you should be able to see over the top of this. So drawing a line, and we're going to draw this line at 45 degrees. So if you hold the shift button and you join it up to the path, and then the same from the bottom, and you join it up to the path. There we go, and then you can just join those two lines together. That bit doesn't necessarily need to be exactly accurate. If that bit's slightly wonky, it's not too much of a problem, and delete it. Now we need to then put tabs on this, because what we're going to do is we are going to glue the bottom of this onto the base here. So it's going to go right the way around there. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to draw a rectangle along here. Our tabs are going to be 15 millimeters high this time. So I'm just going to draw one long stretch, which is 15. It's going to be 393 wide, the same as the length of that strip, and it's going to be 15 millimeters high, and we've got it coloured orange, and we're going to hit it exactly up above here. Okay. So if I zoom in on that, this is going to create where our tabs are. Now, the tabs, the smaller the tabs are, the easier it's going to be to create a proper curve. However, the more fiddly it is going to be in construction. Now, because I want to demonstrate this, I'm not going to put loads and loads of tabs on here. Your tabs ideally should be approximately no more than 20 millimeters wide, so that they are nice and neat and you get a proper curve on your box. I'm going to speed this process up and do mine slightly wider. So what we need to know is we need to know what size is going to fit into 393, and I don't think that that's going to go very evenly. So if I were to look at 20, we'd be looking at 19.65 when we divide one by the other. So let's call our tabs 20 for argument's sake. So I'm going to draw another rectangle here. Its width is going to be 20, its height is going to be 15, and that is going to be the size of my tabs for this. You really ideally might be wanting to make yours a little bit smaller, but 20 is probably about the biggest you want to make them. Now for this, all I'm going to do is create a triangle. So, oops, not a triangle. I'm going to create a sort of rectangle and a triangle. So I'm going to go from the intersect to the intersect, and from the intersect to the intersect, and then I'm going to come down to the edge, and then on the other side down to the edge. Unfortunately, I didn't do that in black, so I'm going to have to do that now. So select the correct colours. So these tabs are going to glue directly onto our base. So that's making it black, and hopefully you'll be able to see that. Now, rather than drawing this over and over again, I'm going to delete that original, and in fact I don't even need this any longer. I'm going to now copy and paste it, and I'm going to paste it next to the other one. Now what you might see is that I've actually put one line on top of the other there. We don't want that anywhere on this, so actually in fact all I need are those three lines to copy. And if I place this somewhere else, you'll see that I'm now missing that left line. That is absolutely fine. And paste that along there. And you want to continue doing that all the way along your edge. Now I'm going to pause this because you don't need to watch me do this over and over. So now I've got my tabs all the way along. I've just noticed that there's a bit of a gap there where there shouldn't be. So let's move those up so they are touching. Now what you'll notice also is that it is actually falling off the edge here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase this to match up with that. We can always cut this with a pair of scissors later on, or a scalpel, if it is a bit too long. It's better for it to be too long than it is to be too short. So let's look at the whole thing. So this strip should in theory tab to that, and it should go all the way around to there. Now what I haven't done is I haven't coloured it, so I'm going to do that in a second. However, I do want to mention that if you are doing the circular one, all you need to do is do this, but for the full length of your circle, the circumference of your circle. So that is how you do that. For the oval one, it's slightly more complicated. So let's get this colouring sorted. If we were going to be doing this, we would be cutting that out because this is a totally separate part. This bit here, okay, we would actually want to have the inner line here to be red. So I'm just going to cut that, and the way I'm going to cut that is where the rubber tool is, there's also the scissor tool, and I'm going to go to the intersect and cut it on both sides. Now what that's done is that should have just cut it into two parts. So you can now see that that is one line, and I'm going to colour that red. So any inner lines need to be red in colour to indicate it's being scored. Now that is the true of my strip here as well. So let's go down here and let's do exactly the same on this shape. So select it, flick your scissor tool, know where you're going to cut it, so I'm going to cut it where the inner parts are, so that line and that line down there, and then we are going to select that one and make it red. Now it's red, so that is correct. Okay, we also need a tab on the other end because we're going to have another rectangle up here. So let's copy and paste this rectangle. And let's rotate it 180 degrees. That way, let's have a look. Right, so let's get this in the right position. It is a bit overlapping, but I want to zoom in to put this in the right place. Should have an intersection, there we go. And then all I'm going to do is delete out the black line, hopefully. Oops, delete out the wrong one. Let's just draw a red line in there, that will do. That is an alternative method to cutting. Okay, so now we're going to put this end, we're going to copy it and we're going to paste it on here. So all I want you to do is I want you to zoom in, and I want you to be able to see both ends where you can. You need to highlight that, and we're going to reflect it. We want to reflect it along the vertical, and we want it to be 90 degrees. As you can see, we've got the preview already option, and that is correct, that is the right size, but we want to make a copy of it. So we're going to copy it, and then we're going to move it to the other end and attach it at the end here. Now that also means that we then need to make this part of the shape red. So let's click there, and highlight the bit that we want to make red, and make that. There we go. Now this will fix to this point. These bits here will fix all the way along here, and then this tab at the end will fix to this side. If you're doing the circle one, you don't need that tab at the end, okay, because this tab will go back round and stick to the end here. So now that you've got that, you've obviously on the oval you've got two sides, so you need to be creating two of these. So all you need to do is create a copy. If you're doing the circle, you should only need one of them because you should have done it to the length of the circumference of the circle. So that is the base completed. For now I'm just going to get rid of this one because it's in my way. I'm going to move this over. So this is my base. This is the base of my product. Now something I've also noticed that I haven't sorted out is the fact that the whole thing needs to have no fill because the laser cutter doesn't understand fill. So click on here and click no fill. Doesn't matter that it's got a question mark here because we've used both red and black lines. So there we go. That is my base. Now what I want to do for my lid is make my lid ever so slightly bigger so that one will fit directly over the other. So what we're going to do is we are going to copy the whole thing and paste it and pop it somewhere like that. Now 103% or 3% bigger than we've got it at the moment is going to be ideal. Now if you go up here to object, transform, and then go to scale, mine is already at 103%, and you might have seen that it actually grew a bit bigger. We want to make sure it's in the uniform setting. not the non-uniform setting. The uniform setting will scale the whole thing. So uniform scale 103%. You don't want a copy, you want to just hit OK, and there you go. That is your two parts for your lid and your base of your net. All of the pieces you need to glue together to create it into one nice box. Now, in order to save this, I would suggest you check a few things first. Now, I know, because I sorted it out a moment ago, that there is no fill. You need to make sure that that is the case. Then you need to make sure that there is no groupings, okay? So object ungroup. If you've got groupings, it isn't going to work. The laser cutter is not going to recognise this as a file. So make sure that if you have any groupings, you go to ungroup. So please do that all the same, even if you haven't used groupings, just double check. So object ungroup, if it allows you to click on it, you need to continue clicking on it until it won't. Once you've done that, you need to save it. So let's save this as oval box and save it in your user area, wherever it is you're saving it. And then you need to save it or export it as a DXF file. Now, DXF file is the type of file that the laser cutter will recognise. It's the laser cutting file. So go to export, and then on the pull down menu you want to select DXF. Okay, the name is fine to be the same. Click save twice. Now, your box will be different to this. You will have more options that are like this. You need to make sure that all of the bullet points are at the top. Okay, so the top options for all of them, and then click OK. Now you need to email both the Illustrator file that you've just saved and the export of the DXF over to me, and we'll get your box laser cut. Good luck.